Hi, I'm Parneet Jaggi, and today we're going to be discussing a very popular and common literary term, essay. Although we are familiar with the term essay because we have been writing essays since our school times and even in college days, or we keep on reading the articles and essays in newspapers and books and journals and magazines, but still to be formally familiar with this term, let's look into its definition. Essay is derived from the French word essayer, which means to attempt or to try. An essay is a short form of literary composition based on a single subject matter and often gives the personal opinion of the author. A famous English essayist, Aldous Huxley, defines essays as a literary device for saying almost everything about almost anything. And the Oxford Dictionary describes it as a short piece of writing on a particular subject. In simple words, we can define it as a scholarly work in writing that provides the author's personal argument. If you look at some more definitions of essay, one damn thing after another is how Aldous Huxley described the essay, a literary device for saying almost everything about almost anything. As definitions go, Huxley's is no more or less exact than Francis Bacon's dispersed meditations, Samuel Johnson's loose sally of the mind, and Edward Hoagland's greased pig. Since Montaigne adopted the term essay in the 16th century to describe his attempts at self portrayal in prose, this slippery form has resisted any sort of precise universal definition. Now, where has essay come from? How did it all start? Where do we trace back its history? Let's have a look. To trace the history of English essay, we need to go back to the Elizabethan age. The miscellaneous works of a few university wits like John Lyly, Green, Lodge, Nash has some traces of this prose work, and they wrote novels, but it also has the anticipation, the idea of the essay in it. Apologia for Poetries of Sir Philip Sidney had the semblance of essay, though it was not very clear. It was in an uncertain style. We cannot call it a real essay, but it had the features of the essay. Now, the essay in its real form came into existence in England in 1597 with the publication of the first series of essays by Francis Bacon. Then, after Bacon, Sir William Cornwallis tried to write in the aphoristic style. He was precise and short, just like Francis Bacon, but he failed to reach those heights as Francis Bacon, and he had little in common with Bacon. After Bacon, we generally find the name of the great Ben Jonson, who was actually a poet and a dramatist and a critic, but we also find his prose style and essay as impressive. Then the most important name after Bacon in the true sense of the word of the essayist comes through Abraham Cowley. He is an important connecting link between Bacon and Addison because Addison came later and Bacon's essays saw a long gap after his writings. There was a true essayist. So the defects of Bacon were remedied by Cowley to some extent, and that is why he is called a link, a chain between Bacon and Addison. Then came the Restoration prose, which marks the real moment of birth of modern English prose, in which there were notable names such as Locke, Temple, Halifax, and the most important of all was Dryden. John Dryden, as we know the name, his prose writings consisted mainly of essays and prefaces, and his essay of pragmatic poesy is a major piece of literary criticism in English. His other works include Essay on Satire, Essay on Epic Poetry, and Preface to Fables. Now, Dryden's prose indeed marked a definite progress in the development, and it never stilted, and it is still, even till today, it is considered as the first example of modern English prose. Now, we may broadly classify essays into two types. Post-Montaigne, the essay split into two distinct modalities or types. One was informal, personal, intimate, relaxed, conversational, and often humorous essay, while the other type was dogmatic, impersonal, systematic, expository. Now, for example, in the informal and personal essays, we often quote Charles Lamb's essays as being light, relaxed, and humorous, like we have a bachelor's complaint. And on the other hand, we have Francis Bacon's essay as impersonal, systematic, expository, and full of wisdom and knowledge. Informal can describe either the shape or tone of the work or both. Personal refers to the stance of the essayist, conversational to the language of peace, and expository in its content and aim. Now, further, an essay can be of many types. Broadly, I am going to classify the literary essays into four types, which we can see in the light of the modern and contemporary writing. Essays can be expository. Now, what is expository? In an expository essay, the writer gives an explanation of a theme, an idea, or an issue to the audience by giving his own opinions. Now, this essay is presented through examples, definitions, comparisons, and contrasts. Now, this is most commonly used in schools, in colleges, and in the academic exercises where you have to give your opinions on a particular issue or topic or theme or something happening in society, the ills and abuses of society. So, these are going to be your opinion-based expository essays. Second is the descriptive essay. Now, this is a type of an essay which gives a description about a topic, which describes the traits and characteristics of something or a person in detail. For example, we can have an essay on Abraham Lincoln or Mahatma Gandhi, or we can have an essay on a particular place. We can have an essay on the Taj Mahal, or some country, or a particular where we need to show the features and characteristics of that particular thing. It allows artistic freedom and creates images in the minds of readers through the use of the five senses. So, for example, if we are writing about, say, the city of Delhi, so we may present examples and illustrations of the place through which the reader may be able to sense that place through the eyes and through the senses, only by reading the essay. So this is the descriptive essay. Then we have the narrative essay. Now, narrative means narration. Narrative is basically non-fiction, but here describes a story with sensory descriptions. The writer not only tells the story, but also makes a point by giving reasons. Now, the basic difference between this essay and a story is that here we also present reasons and logics and point. It is not just a story, but it is narrative. For example, we may present an essay, we may present the scene at a railway station. So it is going to be narrative. It is, you're going to narrate some scene of a particular place or some event, but you're also going to give some logic, some reasoning behind it to show why I am telling you these things. Then you have a persuasive essay. In this essay, the writer tries to convince his readers to adopt his position or point of view on an issue. After he provides them solid reasoning in this connection, it requires a lot of research to claim and defend an idea. It is also called argumentative. In simple words, we can also say that this is a kind of a debate that we present before the public or the reader, in which we have a point to make, and through the essay we kind of validate that point, we justify that point, yet this is the point I'm making and I'm going to prove it in some way or the other. Now, what is the function of the essay? Now, it is very easy to understand that the function of the essay is that we are familiarized with the subject matter, what the writer wants to inform, explain, persuade, or even if he wants to entertain us. So it is a kind of a source of information to us. Then it increases the analytical and intellectual abilities of the writers as well as the readers. Yes, of course, the more we write, we become analytical, and the more we read also, we become so. It evaluates tests the writing skills of the writers and organizes his thinking to respond personally or critically to an issue. Yes, of course, it is a writers and readers' response to a particular issue, theme, or the topic he is writing. So, definitely, it enhances the critical skills of a writer and a reader. Through an essay, a writer presents his argument in a more sophisticated manner. So, he may not be able to say that in such a rhetorical tone, such an emphatic tone, but when he organizes his words in an essay, he is able to present his argument in more sophisticated manner. It encourages students to help develop the concept skills such as analysis, comparison, contrast, clarity, exposition, conciseness, and persuasion. So, these are the advantages and the importance of the essay. Now, basically, when we look at the structure of the essay, I'm going to be touching at the structure very, very briefly because most of us are familiar with what the structure of essay is. Standard definitions often stress the loose structure or the apparent shapelessness of the essay, that the essay is usually shapeless. We cannot compartmentalize it into a basic, strict structure as such. Johnson, for example, called the essay an irregular, indigested piece, not a regular and orderly performance. Now, the writings of several well known essayists like William Hazlitt and the American writer Ralph Waldo Emerson, for example, after the fashion of Montaigne, can be recognized by the casual nature of their explorations of ramblings. Now, ramblings means loose writings. Loose means we do not have a very tight structure which is to fit into every shape. So, essay can be a rambling, but that is not to say that anything goes. Each of these essays follows certain organizing principles of his own. So, essay is not a hard, tight, compartmentalized writing, but it is also not that loose that it goes shapeless. It has a structure, it has a shape of its own, but only to the extent that the writer is able to present himself with more freedom, more liberty, more enthusiasm than other writings. So, this is how we understand the basic concept of the essay. We hope to know more about the essays once we read the essays of the famous writers like Bacon, Lamb, Hazlitt, Emerson. We have a lot many American writers also. And even in India, we have this tradition of the essay gaining momentum once again because of the internet and journalism taking its importance in the literary scene. So, this was my brief analysis of the literary term essay. Thank you for now.